Hi everyone, and welcome back to Farrand Film. Today, me and Ollie are bringing you a review of Gran Turismo.
Gran Turismo.
Because feeling very, very special. We got to see it early yesterday. Not through any sort of like notoriety means.
Nah, let's roll with it. We
Yeah,
we
should
got we
should we
got a
just
red
say that
carpet.
we were invited? Yeah,
We
all
got
that
to
kind
meet a
of stuff.
Spice Girl. We had to smile at them awkwardly.
Yeah,
Just
yeah. David Harbour, everyone was there. Yeah.
yeah, people kept on getting Adam mixed up with David Harbour because they very much got the same vibe. Just
Yeah, they were just like, come on, you know, we need to escort you in. We know you're
yeah,
VIPs.
I loved you in the Green Hornet.
Yeah, fantastic. Fantastic. So this is a weird one in that released it because we kind of mentioned this yesterday, Ollie. So,
Hmm.
it's apparently it's been released over here in the UK next Friday as we record this, or the 11th. So we're a full week out, which is always nice, to get a review out early. But then, because of the writers' strikes, it's actually not being released in America until the 25th of August. So yeah, but apparently it is going to get a limited release in the States from next week. So take that as what you will.
I'm not. I'm not questioning the writers' strikes. I think they should be. It would be hypocritical of me as a teacher to complain about a profession striking. However, I question how that has affected this. This movie's done. It's written.
Yeah,
It's
it's
been
really
acted in.
weird. Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Like this. I don't know. I don't know how the strikes affect it. Unless it's Hollywood desperately trying to spread out the films.
I don't know if it's more the actors' strike in that they then can't send Harbour and
Oh,
Bloom.
are the editors striking as well?
No, actors.
Oh, act. Well, but oh, I see what you mean. So they can't do like the promo and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm wondering if that's more to do with. I mean, your boy Neil Blomkamp, he'll go and do it. He'll go and talk to people
Yeah, he's still got that. I mean, I don't know. Yeah,
because
he's
then
not got much.
every interview would end with, "So District 10."
Where
Um.
are the prawns, Neil?
Oh yeah. So Gran Turismo,
Neil be like, you can't say that word.
biographical sports drama, according to Wikipedia. Directed by, as we mentioned, Neil Blomkamp, who you may know from District 9, from Chappie, from Elysium, from his long gestating Alien film that he wants to do, which I don't think is actually happening at this point. And it says that it is inspired by the true story of Jan Mardenborough, a teenage Gran Turismo player aspiring to be a race car driver. Now, we'd seen everywhere that it was based on a true story. We both questioned it. You give it a quick Google. Jan Mardenborough is an actual person. Now, reading up on
I
him,
read through his wiki. It looks like the film is obviously like taking some dramatic liberties, but
yes.
at the same time, yeah, it's probably real.
So it says that in 2011, he participated in the GT Academy, which the
Hmm.
film mentions. The film brings up the GT Academy. He beat 90,000 other entrants and won the competition. And the prize was winning a drive with Nissan at the Dubai 24 hour. And he scored third in his class. So there are things that have changed in terms of the film story. So we get Jan. One of the first things that happens in the film is that he's just had a delivery of his nice new steering wheel that he can play Gran Turismo
Yeah,
with and all that
he's
kind of stuff.
bleeding money from his job. What do you think that shop is that he works at? Do you think
I
it's an
was waiting for
M&S?
like a TK Maxx sign on his badge, but then
Yeah,
it's a very small, it's a much smaller shop in
and
it.
it looks a bit. It's almost like a Debenhams.
Yes, yeah, it
Could be a
is.
Deben, and I think was Debenhams still about in 2015? That's the question.
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
Mm. This was
But he,
and he grew up in Wales as well, and he grew up in a very interesting part of Wales where not a single person had a Welsh accent.
no, no, they don't. No, they
It's
don't.
that beautiful view of the UK, but everyone just sounds the same.
Yeah.
Everyone sounds the same. I remember seeing this TikTok from Americans of all people, criticizing the way we pronounce certain words, and it was in particular Italian words. And she's there going like pasta. It's like no, it's pasta,
No.
pasta. Like,
Yeah. So basically, so he's working. He's doing a sort of a standard job. He's 19 years old. He's
Mhm.
probably just finished
Having a
school.
conversation with a Razzie winner.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Now there's two Razzie winners. Remember, there's his. I'm going to look up his name. I'm going to
We'll get
assume
to
it's his name.
we'll get to them.
Right.
Um, yeah. So then, basically, what happens is, because he spends time in what looks to be, they refer to it as a video game cafe, but that is the biggest cafe I've ever seen in my
That's a
life.
sick space. I want to
Yeah,
go there.
it's like a huge sort of like event space.
My
Just
favorite thing is that it spends all of this time, well, not all this time, but it spends a decent amount of time at the beginning talking about how he set up his own rig at home,
yeah, and then he
and then
doesn't
he's
use
got
his
to
own
do the
rig.
competition on some random rig in this massive warehouse space.
That's initially what I thought. In that you see him take delivery of this new steering wheel that he's got, he plugs it in, and then when it comes to him actually competing in the race that gets in the space in the GT Academy, he doesn't use the new rig that he's got. He uses the one that they've got set up at this calf place, with his dodgy mate. Um, Now, one of the things that sort of took us initially is, he sits down at the table to eat. Now, we'd already met his dad, played by the mighty Juan Hunsu, and his brother. And then all of a sudden the camera turns and I turn to you and I go, "Is that Jerry
Is
Halliwell?"
that Jerry Halliwell playing his mum?
And it actually is Jerry Halliwell.
Right, so Georgia has a bit of input here, actually,
Oh,
as someone who really does enjoy spicing up her life, as it were. Jerry Halliwell is massively into her racing.
oh,
As a little interesting little side nugget, Jerry
okay.
Halliwell is like mad into racing and is a huge fan of racing. So it probably was some attempt at an Easter egg for
Yeah,
like times that she's been seen at Silverstone, at Le Mans, at the Nurburgring, and places like that. Look at me just rattling off a couple of places.
interesting. I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
It does not make up for, however, unequivocally one of the worst acting performances I've ever seen in a film.
Oh,
Like, because I was worried that I was being harsh, and I'd look over at you, and you were like cacking yourself laughing anytime she delivered a line. Like, because
I just
you've got what's it? Archie Madekwe.
yeah,
Madekwe. I'm going to assume his name is pronounced.
very
I looked,
solid central performance.
yeah, he's in C. He's in Midsummer as well.
Is
So this
he?
is even his big break. Like
Oh,
I looked at it. So C, that thing with Jason Momoa where everyone's blind. I'm pretty sure I recognize him as the kid who's the only guy you can see in this weird post-apocalyptic world.
right, yeah.
Um, but yeah, he's in Midsummer as well.
Okay.
I've not seen Midsummer, so I wouldn't have recognized it. So you've got him, very, very good actor. You know, a little bit raw, but he's young and you can tell he's going to be great. Jimon reminding us all that no, he's got dramatic chops. He doesn't just have to be the angry, shouting guy. It's just that he's very good at being the angry.
Some sincere emotional moments in the film come from the relationship between those two.
Yeah, he's incredible, Jimon, in this. And then you got Jerry Halliwell. Just, oh, these lentils are lovely, aren't they?
But I said to you twice, and you had the same response to me when I said, "I'm so surprised that she's in it because it's not mentioned anywhere in any of the marketing." And you're like, "No, there's a reason for that."
Yeah, I reckon there's a reason they haven't mentioned her in the marketing at all. It's because they've looked at it in the final cut and been, oh, Jesus.
It's rough. It's rough, people.
Georgia is doing a producer role. Jerry Halliwell, because I realised this, she wasn't credited as Jerry Halliwell, was she?
Well, on Wikipedia it says Halliwell, and then in the starring bit on the side it says Halliwell Horner.
Halliwell Horner, because she's married to Christian Horner, the team principal of the Red Bull Racing Formula One team.
So they've gone for gravitas. They've gone for the
Yes.
sort of
They're like they've gone right. We need Jerry Halliwell in here because she knows a lot about racing and she's in that world. So who can she play? I know. How about his mum, who doesn't know a damn thing about racing
yeah.
and isn't Welsh? because no one's Welsh.
She could have been. She could have played it. She could have been a sort of female counterpart to Jack Sauter, like, you know, or something
Maybe
like
not
that.
Jack, because I think that world is still kind of sexist, but I can imagine her being like an executive at Nissan.
Danny.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, counterpart to Danny.
Yeah.
Played by.
Yeah. So basically, the sort of the premise of how they set up the tournament in the film, this all happens very quickly, and we both sort of said to each other, this happens very, very quickly. In the Orlando Bloom's character of Danny Moore, who is a marketing executive, goes to Nissan, and he goes to, it's basically Tokyo, I think it is.
Yeah.
And he stands in front of a very empty auditorium of executives and says, I want to do this thing, which is basically we're going to get the fastest lap times of GT drivers, and we're going to put them in a race, and then those that win can go on and qualify for this academy. We will then put them in an actual race car and have them drive for Team Nissan. And one guy asks a question, and he goes, I don't think it's going to work. And then as Orlando Bloom is leaving the place, someone stops him and says, the board have just met. We like your idea. We're going for it. Within like 30 seconds of him.
Yeah, like there's no cool off time whatsoever. I appreciate it. Like it's a necessary plot device. You're not interested in waiting the 2 weeks with him while he waits for a decision.
Yeah.
They're just trying to speed things along. However, why you can't just have him like even in his hotel room receiving a phone call?
Or even just have the guy in the meeting just sort of go, this is a really good idea.
Why wasn't it in just like a normal conference room?
Yeah, it was like a literal like Steve Jobs lecture hall type thing.
Yeah.
And then you get a sort of similar thing happen with David Harbour's character of Jack Sauter, where basically Orlando Bloom's character Danny Moore wants to find somebody to train up these basically rookie drivers. And you know, you can tell that he's been doing it a while because he's got his notepad and he's got his list, and the last name on the list is Jack.
Yeah, I've got.
He's tried everybody else. You know,
came to me.
This is the last one. So he rings Jack, and basically Jack says no, doesn't want to do it. Or he meets Jack, and Jack says no, that doesn't want to do it because Jack is currently working as an engineer mechanic on a very arrogant drivers team. Nicholas Capper,
bit of a narrative device. I looked him up. He's not real.
Yeah, but he's your sort of prototypical, as you referred to him, 80s protagonist.
Oh yeah, he's Ivan Drago's son or grandson at this point. He even looks a bit Ivan Drago.
What did we say? Driving Drago?
Driving Drago, yeah.
Driving Drago.
We were quite proud of that.
And yeah, so basically,
don't forget his dad as well. Like even the guy playing his dad, Thomas Kretschmann, he was like the go-to. Like we need a charismatic kind of daddy vibes, handsome man to play an evil German. Let's get Thomas Kretschmann in.
That's who we've got instantly off the bat.
Yeah.
So basically, yeah. Jack sits around. He's refused this job. They all sit around at this really fancy restaurant having a meal.
I know. I loved it. Like, did you know that Subtle has a silent B in it because they're really trying to get across the idea that this kid's from a different world, from our Yan, and this is why we shouldn't like him because he's a rich kid, but still give us all your monkey. Like,
and basically, he has a little bit of a tiff with the driver. The driver sort of says, "You need to know your place because you're just a mechanic." Jack gets up.
Fair point.
He
that
gets
wasn't
up.
The place to say it, even if you wanted to get that opinion across. A Michelin star restaurant is not the place to say it.
No, he gets up. He walks out of the restaurant. He rings Orlando Bloom and he says, "All right, I'll do it." It's very quick. It's very quick.
There's no beating around the bush with it, is there?
No. So then naturally
we did skip over, although there's plenty of opportunities to come back to it. A cliche I have not seen in a film in a very long time, and this film does it at least 5 times, where you can hear the song playing at full volume.
Yeah,
you know, it's the soundtrack to the film, and then a character takes off their headphones.
Oh yeah.
It genuinely does it like 5 times in this film, doesn't it?
We can't have Crazy Train. We can't have Paranoid. We can't have Crazy Train happens first.
It's not Crazy Train.
No, listen. He listens to Crazy Train first, and then he listens to Paranoid later on. It's not the same song.
It's not. Crazy Train didn't appear in this film
It's Crazy Train. I'm telling you, it's
because
Crazy Train.
the whole point is he's listening to Black Sabbath. That's not a Black Sabbath
Well,
song.
that's where I went. Well, hang on a minute. That's not a Black Sabbath song.
You
We'll
listen
agree
to
to
Crazy
disagree.
Train.
We'll
Anyway,
agree to disagree. Right? Anyway, he's listening to Ozzy Osbourne in some form or fashion. Yeah, and you hear it, and then it's in his headphones. Enya, you hear it, and then it's in his headphones. Kenny G, you hear it, and then it's in his headphones. It happens all the time. So they move on to the academy. Now, the thing that I didn't understand about the academy, and I don't know whether you picked up on this, is that when he won the race, with the other Razzie potential winner,
his name
basically
is
friend. Go
Nickel
on,
Palmer.
Nicole Palmer.
He genuinely sounded like a sixth former who would won a competition to be in this film.
Sorry, Nicole.
Like wasn't there one line? It was like as certain as a pile up on the M4. Bad example.
Yeah, but he said bad example really quickly.
Yeah,
like it wasn't even allowed time to
say
rest for him to realize what he'd said.
Yeah, I think that was the point I turned to you and I was like, really? That's the best take of that line they got.
Best take, yeah.
That was the best take. Like, wow.
Yeah, so they go on to the academy, and the point of the race is that he's apparently now beaten everyone else who got the best lap time in Europe. But then when they get to the academy, there's another British guy there, there's a Spanish person, there's somebody from France, and it's like, well,
there's a German, an Argentinian, and American.
How is he the best in Europe if all of these other Europeans are still on the academy?
Yeah, I didn't. I
imagined that.
I was too distracted by Palmer just like screaming at him like he's his pit crew.
Wow!
Come on, punch it! It's like, how do you know what you're talking about? Shut up! Shut up!
Then, I mean, I feel like we've been fairly critical so far, but I feel like everything that we've sort of mentioned, so the really rushed exposition and all that. Maybe not everything that we've mentioned.
I actually appreciated the rushed exposition.
Well, but my point being is because it gets us to where we want to be very, very quickly. In that we get the sort of speedy, we're in a training program, we're sort of cutting the fat, we're trimming the fat, in that there's 10 of us, we're going to bring us down to 5. We're then going to have a race, and then the winner of that race becomes the person who then goes on and does all these fantastic Grand Prix and all that kind of stuff. Namely being,
even though they establish later that 2 of them still go on to have like okay racing careers.
Yeah. Well, one craps the bed up I'm on, don't they? But we'll leave that. But yeah. So I mean, you can sort of see where it's going, in that I don't feel like there was any jeopardy in Jan being the person that was going to pursue and carry on and go and do all these other races.
Well, it's already been marketed as that, hasn't it?
Yeah. So maybe the marketing is telling you too much at that point.
Yeah. And it was little things like, because I get what they're trying to get across with Gran Turismo, especially, but it is just a game. Like, I'm sorry, there is no way that Jan would have known that this probably wasn't a real thing. It was something they added into the film, but there is no way that he would have known from his experience with any gaming rig that the brakes were glazed.
Yeah.
There's like no way. Yeah. He might know that something was up with the car because the car is designed to perform. But again, like Jack makes the point, it's different when you're in a car. You're experiencing G-force. You're being thrown from side to side. Unless you've got like one of those proper in a crane hydraulic driving things, which you can get. But the whole point is they are at these training facilities, and just he wouldn't. But
I don't want to go too far into the sort of nitty gritty of the plot and stuff. Because there are when I said about there's no real jeopardy in terms of him pursuing and sort of progressing on, there are elements of jeopardy later. There were things that I think surprised both of us that happen.
Yeah.
And there's a very strange thing that happens with Orlando Bloom's character, in that I said to you, I said it's almost like a heel turn.
Yeah.
In that he
from him and Jack at the same time, which I actually quite liked.
Yeah.
Initially.
Yeah. But I think if we begin to wrap up, because I'm conscious of time, because we're about to do our tier list of video game movies, which you'll be able to see on the channel next week.
Mm.
So I think solid performances from the central three, and by central three, I'm referring to Archie Madekwe. I want to say that right.
I'd say
Uh,
Madekwe personally, but I
Madekwe,
don't know.
okay. David Harbour and Orlando Bloom. I think solid performances there. Jimon
Jimon as
Honsu,
well.
yes. Obviously, we've already mentioned the sort of drop down of Halliwell, Horner, Yuniko Palmer, who I think is just going to be the person that you're going to die with. As sort of mentioning, I think in terms of set pieces and action sequences, they were done really well. The racing was done really well.
It was better. It was better. There were lots of long static shots where the cars were allowed to just shoot off.
Yeah,
and I really liked those.
there was a lot of trying to replicate the GT camera.
I love that one where it replicated the Gran Turismo camera. My favorite shot was probably, I think it literally just said, "Okay, he's got 6 seconds on you."
Yeah,
and then his car goes past, and then it waits the 6 seconds, and then Jan's car goes past. I was like, yeah, I like that because it never looks that big in a racing track, and it makes you realize, like, even when it looks that close, you're miles behind and stuff like that.
But then there were like is such a crucial thing as well in that I sort of felt you enjoying that next to me because you have that sort of awkward pause of 6 seconds feels a long time for you essentially to stare at nothing after a car's gone past.
Yeah.
So there's I would say about 4 seconds of nothing. And you just about get to the point where you go, why am I still looking at this? And
but did you notice as well when when Jan got into the zone and did the thing that all good drivers do in film? He just like clutch accelerator very quickly, and then the race went really well.
I'm going faster now.
Oh my god, that pedal makes me go faster. Why won't I press in that more?
Why didn't I press it in the first place?
Mind you, it did also do I love that maneuver at the end to get in front of Kappa, where he goes on his outside, forces him to do it, and then just cuts in on his inside. That was I love that. I love that.
I liked the CG as well. I thought the CG was quite well done. You mentioned that a plane looks like PlayStation 2 graphics.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that was the point. Maybe, you know what? It wouldn't surprise me if they did this on not on a PlayStation, but to work on a PlayStation.
Yeah.
To kind of advertise it. It's we kind of realized this on PS5. How good does it look?
But I thought the parts where he's racing in the game and it looks like a car's coming around him to position him in the car. But then the sort of reverse of that where it takes him out of the car and him thinking about playing the game.
Do you remember thinking initially that the car had just disintegrated?
I thought, what's going on here?
And then it was oh, that's what it's doing. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. I think generally, it's a pretty good adaptation. It's one of the better films based on video games.
I think it's because of the meta-ness of it. It's the fact that it isn't a direct adaptation of the game. It was quite a clever way of making a video game movie, of making it this true story based around the video game. And it is an interesting story, and it's obviously dramatized. I feel like, is it Audrey or Alicia? I think she was an added character. I didn't see anything about her in Jan's biography. And I remember turning to you and saying, there's the bit where they're walking around Tokyo together. And I just turned to you and said, he wouldn't be able to move.
Yeah.
He's a very tall black guy in Japan. He would not move. They would just stare at him. They'd be asking him questions. They're not used to people that tall or that dark. They're just not. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It was good, solid. And you've got, I said to you, it's weird that this film contains some of the worst acting I've ever seen, and especially a video, in any film, let alone a video game film. But certainly for a video game film, some of the best. You seemed a bit middling before, especially for Jimon and David. I thought they were excellent.
Oh, I think David Harbour
they
to
were
me
excellent in this.
Yeah, he's just a solid actor round and round, and I think I'm glad that he didn't feel like he was phoning it in, and that he was taking it seriously. Orlando Bloom surprised me as well, to be fair, because I thought
Yeah,
he was
he
quite
was
charismatic.
trying quite hard, but I think it worked.
Yeah.
I just enjoyed him and David Harbour having a battle of, oh, my pop star wife's better than yours.
Oh dear. But yeah, I thought it was really good.
Yeah,
Much
pretty
better
good.
than I expected it to be, and better than it had any right to be, I suppose.
Yeah,
Yeah,
though I like films that are better. I'm always like I always have a positive bias towards films that are better than they have any right to be.
yeah,
It's like you should have been terrible and you're really not. So
yeah.
well
I
done.
actually quite enjoyed you.
Yeah.
So next week, we're recording it straight after this, but it'll be released next week. We're
Don't
doing a
ruin the
video
magic,
game.
Adam.
I know, I do apologize. We're doing a video game tier list, and obviously we are going to include Gran Turismo on that. The review is going to go out pretty much today, so there'll be a good week for people to get around and watch it. Also coming to the channel on Monday is our top 10 crap you love list, which is basically crap films that we like for whatever reason and
that
why
one
we
got
like them.
that one got a bit heated, didn't it?
It was very interesting towards the end, some of the hills that we were ready to die on. But yeah, and then just before the release of Gran Turismo, our top 10, not our top 10, our video games tier list will go out as well. So check out Gran Turismo when it comes to cinemas near you. It is in the UK from next Friday, the 11th, and it is in the US full release on the 25th of August. It's well worth giving it a look, especially if you're like us and you've sat through many video game adaptations and they've all been pretty naff. We're getting there. We're getting to a better stage at least. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.